All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I've been getting a lot of inquiries from people looking to move here and work with me through this YouTube channel. And one of the biggest questions they ask is costs. Specifically, they're asking a lot about taxes, specifically property taxes. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about how to navigate the rise in property taxes in Maine. And believe me, they are rising. We're going to talk about, let's say you're sitting at your table and that envelope from your town office just landed on your kitchen counter. You open it and yep, your property tax bill is higher than you ever. It's that sinking feeling, right? You start worrying about your budget, maybe even about your ability to stay in the home that you love. But I want you to take a breath because you are not stuck. In this video, we're going to walk through the exact Maine exemption and appeal forms that you can seriously use to lower that bill. You're going to definitely not just imagine it. Property values have been reassessed all over the state of Maine, and for many towns, that means a big jump in taxes you owe. It's a tough spot, and it leaves a lot of hardworking Mainers feeling squeezed and frankly, a little powerless. But I promise you, that's not the case. The state has pathways for homeowners to lower their tax bill. But here is the catch. You have to do all the work yourself and you have to start the action. Today, we're going to untangle this complicated system with a clear step-by-step guide and plan on how to do that. We'll kick things off with the simplest and easiest ways to get relief. I call these the quick wins. These are the state-run programs you absolutely need to know about. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the formal appeal process, known as abatements. For anyone who believes their property has been flat out overvalued, my goal in this is to give you knowledge and the confidence to challenge your tax bills and keep you moving forward on your hard-earned money right where it belongs, in your bank account. So without further ado, let's get into that right now. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm a realtor. My name is Scott Tebow. If you want to know more about me, you can look at my other videos. I just want to get into this. This is going to be a longer video, so I want to get into taxes, and that's actually why you decided to get on this video anyway. So let's get into it. Number one, let's talk about the quick wins in understanding Maine's property tax exemptions. Before you even think about gearing up for a formal appeal, your first step is always, and I mean always, property tax exemptions, and look at those. Think of these as the low-hanging fruit in tax relief. They're the state programs that cut down the taxable value of your property, which directly actually lowers your bill. So many Mainers qualify for these but have no idea what they need to do to apply for them. Let's make sure you're not overhauling or leaving money on the table. Let's make sure you understand what these programs are. So let's start with the big one. And for most homeowners, it's the Homestead Exemption. This is the cornerstone of tax relief in Maine. It provides a reduction of up to $25,000 for assessed value of your home. So if your home is valued at, let's say, $300,000, this exemption means that you'll only be taxed on the value of $275,000. It's a real savings that adds up year after year. So who gets it? It's pretty simple. First, you have to be a permanent resident of Maine. Second, the home has to be your permanent residence. This isn't for vacation homes or secondary properties. And third, you need to have owned a home in Maine for at least the last 12 months before you apply. It doesn't have to be the same home. You just have to have lived in and earned one for the past 12 months in the continuous year of the home ownership in that state. In other words, you can't have owned a home for 5 years and not owned a home for 3 years and then started owning a home again. It has to be 12 consecutive months. The most important part in this deadline is you must file the application with your local assessor's office on or before April 1st for the exemption to count for that tax year. If you miss the date, then you'll have to wait again for another year because it only happens on April 1st. The great news, once you've approved that exemption, usually sticks as long as you own and live in that house. You don't have to go and refile every year. That makes things a lot easier, just getting it done the first time. Now, it's worth noting that there is a lot of talk in Augusta about giving homeowners even more relief. Lawmakers have been looking at properties like LD 140 that aims to incrementally increase homestead exemptions in the coming years. So to be clear, these are just proposals for now. Their current exemption is only and still $25,000. But it does show that this is a hot topic and it's a program that you'll want to keep your eye on in the future. Beyond the Homestead Act, guys, there are other exemptions. As an example, there's a veteran exemption. This offers a $6,000 reduction in property value for veterans who served during a recognized war period and are over 62 years of age for those to get 100% exemption. The other option is if you are 100% have 100% disability rating from the VA, a paraplegic veteran may qualify for this at a much larger exemption, up to $50,000 for an example, or especially adapted home. Unremarried surviving spouses of qualified veterans may also be eligible for this $6,000 exemption. The application for this also goes to your local assessor's office by April 1st. Now, guys, there's a list online of what they consider when you served and what periods were considered wartime. I, as an example, served during a wartime period. However, I can't take advantage of this exemption yet because I'm not 62 and I'm not fully disabled. But once I turn 62, I can get another $6,000 off my tax bill because I served during that time. So just keep an eye on that stuff. Remember, if you're not 62, mark that on your calendar. You got to have it done by April 1st. And also look online under tax exemptions, state tax relief or exemption reliefs for property owners on the state of Maine's website, and it'll tell you what periods qualify. Pretty much all of them do, but there are some periods that do not. That being said, there's another exemption called a blind exemption, giving a $4,000 reduction to any resident who is legally blind. And if you're investing in green energy, the renewable energy investment exemption lets you exempt equipment like solar panels from your property, stuff like that, and your tax assessment. Finally, there's one more program that works a little differently, but it's going to be a game changer, and that's called the Property Tax Fairness Credit. This isn't an exemption in your property's value, but a refundable credit to you that you can claim on your main income tax return. This means even if you don't owe any state income tax, you could get a check back from the state. Eligibility is based upon your household income and how much property tax or rent you paid. For many Mainers, especially seniors and those living on fixed incomes, this credit can be worth up to $1,000 or even $2,000 for those 65 and older. You apply by filling out your state income tax form 1040-ME with scheduled PTFC or S/STFC. Those forms will help you go through that process to get an exemption if you're that age. Let's talk about the main event here. how to formally appeal your property tax assessment, right? You've gone through all the checks and balances. You've looked at the exemptions. It's still not enough. You think the city has charged or the town is charging you more money. So what do you do about that? How are you going to address, you just can't afford all these taxes and people are paying more. Let's check it out and see what the process is. Now, first of all, this is for homeowners, again, who believes their property is assessed value is significantly higher than what it is actually worth. But here's the thing you have to understand. Just feeling like your taxes are too high isn't enough to win the appeal. The burden of proof is on you, the taxpayer. To do that, you have to show the town's assessment is manifestly wrong. And yes, that is in the official, slightly dramatic term to use. This usually means proving one of these things. First, that the assessed value is way higher than what your property is actually realistically would sell for. Or second, that your property is assessed unfairly compared to similar homes in your neighborhood. And third, that there's a simple mistake on your property record card. All those things you have to prove. That process might sound a little intimidating, but if you take it step by step, you can absolutely handle it. So let's get into it. Step 1, the informal chat. Before you start drowning in paperwork, your first move is you should always be in a friendly, informal chat with your local assessor's office. Ask for a copy of your property record card. Now, those mostly in Maine are online, but if you don't know how to find them, you can go to the assessor's office and they can pull it up. This is the town's cheat sheet on your home square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, lot size, you name it. Go over it and make sure with a fine-tooth comb that everything is accurate. There are mistakes. Do they think you have a swanky finished basement where it's really a damp, unfinished space? Do you think they list 4 bedrooms where you only have 3? Mistakes like these are surprisingly common and are the easiest way to get your assessment fixed without a formal fight. Once you do that, step 2, filing the formal abatement application. If that informal review doesn't solve the problem, it's time to file the informal abatement application. This has to be filled out with your assessor's office information 185 days before the tax commitment date. That's roughly when your bill was sent over. So you have 185 days within that April 1st timeline to fill out that form. This deadline is non-negotiable. Your town will have a specific form for this, or you'll need to go to the state and exactly why you believe the assessment is wrong. And you'll have to state why your assessment is wrong and what you think the value should be. Step 3, bring the receipts of your evidence. This right here is where the magic happens. A winning appeal is what you need is evidence. You can't just walk in and say, my house isn't worth that much. You have to prove it. Sorry guys, I had to scratch. Here's the kind of evidence that wins this case. First, comparable sales or comps. Find 3 or 5 homes in your immediate area that are similar to yours as possible. Think about the square footage, the age, the condition, the lot size, and have sold recently. If these comps sold for a lot less than your assessed value, that's your smoking gun. A local real estate agent can be an amazing resource. And we do this quite a bit, guys, for other people. We do comps quite a bit. Not necessarily for real estate tax abatements, but we have a lot of comps done because honestly, some people don't know how much their property is worth. But by us pulling together this data, or any realtor that's worth their weight in what they're doing, they should be able to do this. Second, photos and documents. Take pictures of everything that brings your property's value down. Is your roof getting old? Is there a crack in the foundation? Is the kitchen time capsule from the 70s? Snap photos of it. Even better, get written estimates from contractors for the cost of repairs. This provides concrete proof that your home has issues that detract or take away from the market's real value. Third, a little bit more entailed, and you got to pay some money up front, but third is get a professional appraisal. If you want to build an ironclad case, consider hiring a licensed appraiser, somebody who's local. It does cost money, but it is an independent appraiser that comes in lower than the town's assessed, is incredibly persuasive. Again, you got to believe that it is, because that appraiser is going to do what I just asked you to do. Go get comps, look at things that have sold, and then you're going to have to talk to him or her about the condition of your house. Once they come out with that appraisal, you'll be able to use that with your town offices, assuming it is what you wanted, which is lower than what the town thinks it is. And then step 4, the decision and the next steps. After you submit your application, the assessor has 60 days to respond. If they agree with your evidence, they can grant the abatement. If they deny your request, or if the 60 days passes without a word, which counts as a deemed denial, you have the right to take your case to the next level. That next level is your local Board of Assessment review. You have 60 days from the assessor's denial to have an appeal with them. This leads to a hearing where you present your evidence and the assessor will defend their number. The board is there to be an impartial judge. If they deny your appeal, your last resort for most residential properties is to appeal to the state superior court. That takes some time, and it takes some patience, and it takes a little bit of governance. Conclusion, guys. First, go for the quick wins before April 1st deadline. Double check that you applied for the Homestead Exemption. And if you qualify for any things like the Veteran Exemption, Legally Blind Exemption, or if you're over a certain age, you can actually get another exemption. Property tax fairness credit, if you will. You can also get an exemption for green energy or some portions of that. Hundreds of people, thousands of people a year don't even do this. They're not even aware of it. Second, if you still feel like your home is overvalued, don't be intimidated by the abatement process. Start with that informal review of your property card. If it doesn't work, be ready to get the formal application within the 185-day window. Remember, a strong appraisal or a strong appeal is built on strong evidence. Gather your comparable sales, document any problems with your property, and lay out your case in clear, logical way. Rising property taxes are a real challenge for so many here in the state of Maine, but you are not powerless. By understanding the system and taking those steps, you can make your own way for paying your fair share. You are your own best advocate, so take action, trust the process, the fight for your financial well-being. You've got this. It's not that hard, guys. It does take a little bit of swagger on your part. You got to keep at it, but that's one of the best ways to reduce your taxes. If you can't, obviously through the exemptions, and if you can't, you can have the appeal process. I will tell you this in talking to assessors, right? There has been a statewide assessment done for the state of Maine, and like my property taxes have doubled. I have the Homestead Exemption, which I get $25,000 off every year. I don't have a veteran allowance yet. I don't have a blind allowance. I don't have a fair tax credit allowance because I'm not 65, and I don't have a green energy. When I look at my tax bill and then I go through that card, just like I was telling you to do, most of it is pretty relevant. Most of it seems real, right? Is my kitchen a little outdated? Yeah. Will it reduce the value a little bit? Maybe. But I've also added value to the property. So then I look at what the property can sell, and honestly, what they have my property assessed at and what I can sell it for, is actually more. So guys, I'm not saying that this is not a viable way to get your taxes decreased. But remember, we all complain that our taxes are too high until we want to sell the home. And then we want the most for a home, which generally is more than what the home's taxed for or the assessed value is. That's not always the case. I know seniors that live out on farmlands and in East Saco and in East Biddeford that were farmlands, and because of their proximity to the coast, their taxes have gone up extremely a lot because of their location, even though they haven't improved the property. So some of this does work. You just got to be at it, but make sure you're capitalizing on those taxes, the homestead exemptions and all those other exemptions first. Guys, I hope this was helpful. Drop me a line, send me a chat. Connect with me if you want to know more information. I can give you the forms. I can show you where to go if you want to know. And we'll go from there. Hope this was helpful, guys. Scott Tebow over and out. Bye-bye.